Okay, so am I audible?
Yes,
Okay, so let's start today's session. Okay, I will share my screen first. Okay, so my screen is visible. Hello.
yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so in previous class, we covered some basic topics of HTML. Okay, like some tags and some CSS points. Okay, so in the last class, we covered the quotations. So let's start today's next. Mm, there is the comment, I think. Okay, so comment are not displayed in the browser, but they are help a document to HTML source code. Like the our browser is ignore it. Okay, not is very more big deal. You are add comments to your HTML secure by source by using the following syntax. Okay, this is the syntax of the comment for the comment. Okay, this is like the starting tag and this is like the end tag. Okay, with comments you can place notifications and reminder in your HTML code and hide content also. Comments can be used to be hide content. This will be helpful if you hide content temporarily. Okay, you can also hide more than one line, everything between the these quotations. This and this will be hidden for the display. Okay, it means the browser is ignore them. Browser cannot execute it part. Okay, so the next topic is HTML colors. HTML colors are specified with predefined color names with RGB, hexane, and RGBA or SHSLI values. Like color names, there are some colors. Mm, Okay, so we also cover these topics like color. Okay, the color is used for the text color. Okay, so we already cover it. The next is the border color. Okay, so this is the border. Okay, when I remove it and execute it. Okay, so first we make a border around the hello world. Okay, so the syntax of creating a border like this. Border. Here we add the space, the length of border like 2 pixel, and we defined which type of our border like is it solid And here now define the color of our border like this. First, not anything happen. Then we added a color. Sorry. Wait a minute. What's the specific 2 pixel solid? Okay. So border is appeared. Okay. Using this syntax, we create a border around any text box, any images. Okay. And the pixel is the defines the length of our border, and this part is the of our color of our border. When we increase the pixels, then the size of our border is also increased like this. Okay. And there is the color values. Okay, RGBA, hexane, HSL, and this is the RGBA. The RGB and the RGBA has this is the RGB only RGB, and this is the RGBA. RGBA has some extra points. Okay, the color is all are the same, but the code is different. The next is the HTML CSS. Okay, CSS stands for the cascading styling sheet. Okay, CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. Like what is CSS? The CSS is cascading styling sheet is used to format the layout of a web page. With CSS, you can control the color, font, the size of text, the spacing between elements, how elements are positioned posted and laid out, what background images or background colors are to be used, different displays for different devices and screen sizes, and more much. Okay, and using CSS can be added to HTML document in the three ways. Inline CSS by the using the style attribute inside the HTML elements. Okay, we already used the inline CSS in our previous topics by using the style attributes. And the next is the internal CSS by using a style element in the head section. And the next is the external by using a link element to the to link to an external CSS file. The best approach is the external CSS. Okay, when we work on a big project, Then the best approach is the using external CSS file. Okay, the most common way to add CSS is to keep styling in external CSS file. However, in this tutorial we will, okay, so there is the some brief. Okay, next topic is the inline CSS. Inline CSS is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML page. An inline CSS used the style attributes of an HTML element. So the following example sets of the one. Okay. Okay, so this is the example of inline CSS. Okay, inline means every line. The CSS is in a single line. Okay, like this when H1 provides inline CSS like color blue and the paragraph provides the color red. There is that the inline CSS called the inline CSS. The next is the internal CSS. An internal CSS is used to define the style of a single HTML page. An internal CSS is defined in the head section of an HTML page within a style element. The following example sets of the class of all the H1 element to blue and the next color of all the paragraph element to red. In, addi- in addition to page will be displayed with a powered blue background color. Okay. Here we provide the internal CSS. Okay. We create a style tag in the our head tag and make the CSS here. Like when first we target the body and change and provide the body to the background color to a background color. Okay, then we target the H1 and provide the blue text color. And here then we target the P tag and provide the red color. Okay, when we change it, okay, we change the CSS look like this. Okay, so the our internal CSS work like this. Okay, first we make a style tag and then we target in each elements and provide the CSS. Then next is the external CSS. An external style sheet is used to define the style for the many HTML pages. To use an external style sheet, add a link to it in the head section for each HTML pages. Okay, so here we have some HTML pages. Okay, oh okay, okay. So there is our some HTML files. Okay, it means we have multiple HTML and CSS files. Okay, so and this is the link. in our heading tag, like this. To use an external style sheet, add a link to it in the head section of each HTML page. Okay, an external style sheet is used to define the style for many HTML pages. Okay, here we create a link tag, and here we set the path where our CSS file is exist. Okay, so our CSS file in the same folder where is our HTML file is exist. Then we provide the path of our CSS file. Then here it provide the background color, the H1 tag CSS, and here's the paragraph CSS. Okay. I think here the no example of the external CSS. Wait a minute. I will make code manually for this. Open the Visual Studio Code and create an CSS HTML index.html and create an style.css file. Okay, first create the boilerplate and then provide the CSS. Wait a minute, first okay, here we add the our external CSS like style.css. Okay, link style.css. Okay, then first execute it. Okay, so our output is look like this, and this is our local port. Okay, localhost port address. Here we have an body tag. Then we provide the background color first. Okay, then background color aqua. Okay, and save it. Okay, here we have an aqua body color. Okay, just debug it. Then we Okay, we see it. We have the background color aqua here. When I remove it, okay, provide the CSS for this H1 and P tag. Okay, so our H1 heading tag color has been tomato, and the next is the our P tag color is blue. No, not blue, brown. Okay, like this. We increase for the increasing the size, font size 25 pixel. Save it. This is okay. So the external CSS is work like this. Hmm, okay, so the next is the okay. So we cover the inline CSS, external CSS, and internal CSS. With CSS colors, font, and sizes. Here we will demonstrate some commonly used CSS properties. Okay. The CSS color property defines the text color to be used. The CSS font family property defines the font to be used. And the CSS font size property defines the text size to be used. Okay. Use the CSS color font family and font size properties like this. Here we use the font family, here we use the color, and here we use the font size. It's provide the styling. The font families provide the styling to our text. Okay, like this. The courier and Vardhana. Okay, when I remove it, then the text is look like this. Okay, when I also edit, then our text is look like this. Okay, so the font families work like this. When I remove it, then I will execute, then it look like this. Okay. Okay, so the font family is work like this. Okay, and I already told about what is the color and what is the font size. Next is the CSS border. We already covered the border. Okay, the CSS border property defines a border around the HTML element. The border look like this, like okay. Okay, so the border is look like this. Border 2 pixel solid tomato. Okay, we also increase the size of the border in pixels like this. Okay, we also provide the border radius like this pixel. Okay, so now our border is look like this. Okay, when I refresh it, it's being normal. It's pretty simple. Okay, so the next is the CSS padding. Now there is some amazing topics comes. Okay, the CSS paddings pretty defines property defines a padding space between the text and the border. Okay, use of CSS border and padding properties. Okay, here we have some multiple paragraphs. Okay, and we have 2 pixel border which color is powder blue, and here we provide a 30 pixel padding. When I remove the padding, wait a minute, when I remove the all the CSS, it look like this. Then I add the border and padding, it look like this. When I remove the padding, it look like this. Okay, so when I add the padding, then added some extra space between the HTML tag and the border, like this padding 2 pixel. Okay, here added some extra space, some little, then 5. I increase the padding. Okay, so there's some changes, and okay, so the padding is look like this. Okay, because first we start the live. Okay, so target the h1 tag, add a border, 2 pixel solid green, yellow, gray, dark gray. Okay, then we added some padding 1 pixel. Okay, then I increase the padding 1 by 1. Okay, look like this. Okay, add some extra space between the HTML element and the border. Okay, the padding is look like this. So I copy this CSS and add here in the H1. Then I replace it. Okay. Here we add some padding. Okay, so the next is the margin. The CSS margin property defines a margin space outside the border. Okay, the padding is define the space inside the border, and the margin is provide space outside the border. Okay? Like okay, the padding is provide the space inside the border. Mm, like this. Okay, okay, and I place it. Okay, like this. Okay, there is the padding space. Is is it? Is it padding space? Okay, the padding is only in between the HTML tag and the border. Okay, sorry. Next is the margin. The CSS margin property defines the margin space outside the border, like this. Okay, when I remove the margin, then the code is look like this. Okay, but when I add the margin, our code is look like this. When I add the margin like 1 pixel, then I increase the size of our margin. Again, I increase the margin. The margin increase the space outside the border. Okay, and the padding increase the space inside the border. Okay, look like this. Okay, there is that the our margin. So here I use for the h2 tag. This is how I am. Okay, so this is for the margin. Inspect element. Go to the inspect element and target the margin. H2 text, target the H2 text. First add an border radius. Sorry, not radius, border. Pixel, solid, and provide the color is wait, red. Okay, then add the margin. Margin 1 pixel. Okay, so the margin is look like this. Okay, look like this. Add some extra space outside the border. Okay, outside the border. Here's the difference between the padding and margin. Okay, this is for the padding like this. The padding provide the space between the and in the border, and the margin provide the space outside the border. Okay, here's the space around the H2 tag. Okay, like we doing some styling like font size 25 pixel. Okay, the font size is 35 pixel. Border radius is 5 pixel, 7 pixel. Okay, and then the text color is on the copy. The blue. So copy it and paste in the external CSS. We target the H2 tag. Okay, save it and go on our page like this, and then refresh it. Here edit our CSS. Okay, okay, so in the today's chapter we learn about the some CSS properties like margin, padding. Okay, so today's we learn about the style attributes like internal inline CSS. Today we learn how what is the inline CSS. Use the HTML style element to define the internal CSS. Okay, internal CSS means in the heading tag we provide the some style attribute, and then we styling our HTML page and use the HTML link element to refer to an external CSS. External CSS like this. First we create an HTML page and then we create an separate CSS file. Then we merge both by using this link tag. Okay. Here we set the path where our link is exist style.css. And the next is use the HTML head element to more style and link elements. Use the CSS color properties to the text colors. Use the CSS font family property to text fonts, and use the CSS font size property for the text sizes. Use the border property for the border, and also use the paddings and margin. The padding is used for space inside the border, and the margin is used for the space, provide the space outside the border. Okay, the both is very important. Margin and padding. To understanding what is the margin and what is the padding is most important for a web developer. Okay? It is also important for a backend developer and also important for a front-end developer both, because there is the basic HTML and CSS. Okay, today we cover them like colors, text colors, borders, color values like RGBA, etc. HTML CSS, inline CSS. This is the inline CSS, and there is a internal CSS, and this is example of external CSS. Here we use the font families Courier and Vardhana. Here we use the CSS border. Okay, and this is example of CSS padding and the example of CSS margin. There are some examples for the external CSS. Okay, and we also do some practicals for the not very more much hard, but today we take a simple practical for the external CSS. Okay, we also use we also provide the CSS them by using this class and by using the ID. Okay, so in the next chapter we talk about the ID and classes. Okay, the ID and classes is very important when we use the JavaScript. When we interact to the JavaScript, then we use the ID and classes very much, like jQuery, React, etc. Okay, so some important topics like images, like tables, lists, divs, classes, ID, iframe. The iframe is very important for an developer. Okay, the every developer, so and the iframe is very important for the every developer. Okay, it is used for the when we work on an preview, like when we upload an image or upload an video, then we have a single side window, and then we work with a preview. Okay, then the responsiveness is also important. Okay, the media query is used for the responsiveness in HTML. There is some cinematic. We also use then emojis by using them code by using this code values. Okay, so by using the code value, we also provide these emojis like them. There is the some code values for that emoji. Okay, so the today's session is end. So in the next session we talk about the classes and IDs. Okay, so Neha and Bustan and Vidhi.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so bye bye. Bye bye all.
Yeah, thank you.